So to first start off this top, we're going to grab our category 3 yarn, make a slip knot, grab our 4mm hook, and we're going to start off by making a chain that is long enough to fit around our shoulders, but also divisible by 4. So once we have our chain done, I went ahead and marked off every spot where we're divisible by 4 and where our hook is, and this first chain is the first, and then here is my first, second, and third spot. I guess first, second, third, fourth spot. And then from here, we're just going to connect the two tail ends together. So all we're going to do is just run our thumb along one side, making sure that's all facing one direction. And then we're going to connect into that first chain with a slip stitch. And then once when everything is all connected, now we're going to introduce our elastic. And this is actually going to be pretty much exactly the same as my bell-bottom pants that we posted. And I'll have that linked somewhere on the screen and in the description. But when it comes to the elastic really quick, there's no real way for me to teach you guys how to do the elastic. Just go ahead and put this over yourself and make sure that it is 1, comfortable, and also 2, secure, and I guess 3, still has enough elasticity so that you can take it on and off comfortably. And then once you have that, give it a cut and then give it a really nice tie, because this is going to be the only closure that we have. Make sure it's nice and snug. But once when we have that, we're going to work on our first row of single crochet while incorporating our elastic. So in order to get that started, we're actually going to first insert our hook into that next loop, just like how we're starting a slip stitch. And then once we have that, now is going to be when we place our elastic over our work. And then we're just going to hold our yarn just like, if I can, normal. From here on out, the elastic is going to be right over the yarn that we are working with, and it's basically going to stay there, and it's going to intertwine quite nicely. So from here, we're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and that is our single crochet. And then as you can see, our elastic is all up in now. So let's do another one. We're going to insert our hook into that first loop. We're going to make sure that the elastic is right next to where we're working into. Then we're going to single crochet, and then that's how it's going to look. We're going to single crochet while intertwining our elastic all the way until we get to our first marker, and then we're going to be doing an increase of 5, but I'll meet you back when we get there. We single crocheted all the way over to our first stitch marker, and we're just going to take that out really quick. And then like I said, we're going to be doing an increase of 5, so go ahead and put 5 single crochet into that one loop while maintaining our elastic in the middle. So we have our 5 single crochet into that loop, and then from here all we're going to do is continue doing our single crochet while inserting our elastic all the way until we get to the next stitch marker, and we're going to be doing a decrease of 3. But since we're decreasing, instead of stopping at the loop right before our stitch marker, we're actually going to be stopping 2 loops before our stitch marker. So we're going to stop in this one and then leave this guy, the one with the stitch marker, and then we're also going to be working into the one after that as well. But I'll meet you back when we get there. So we made it over to the loop that is right before our next stitch marker, so we're just going to take the stitch marker out for now. We're going to keep this guy around, so place that not too far away. And go ahead and insert your hook into that first loop. Yarn over, pull through, and this is going to be a decrease of 3, so there's our first one. Insert our hook in through the second, and then one more into the third. And then from here we're going to yarn over, pull through everything that we have. And then once we have that, we're going to insert our stitch marker back into that middle loop just so we can remember where it's at. And then from here, we're just going to be putting single crochet once into every loop. Once we get to the next stitch marker, we're going to do another increase of 5. And once we get back to the beginning, we're going to do a decrease of 3 and then connect with a slip stitch. So this little worm looking guy is actually what we have once when we have done our single crochets and did our increases of 5, our decreases of 3, increase of 5, and decrease of 3, and we connected it all with a slip stitch, making sure that all of this was facing one direction. And now we're going to start working on the band portion, and I'm actually going to be switching out my colors because this is going to match the pants that I have, because those pants are mainly blue with a little splashes of white too. So since we have that, we're going to take a look and see where our increases of 5 were, and here is one. And then we're actually going to measure out, see how thick we want our band to be. Mine is going to be about 2 inches, so go ahead and measure that out. And then we're going to insert our hook into whichever loop you want to start with. And when we insert our hook, we're not going to be going in through both loops like we typically do. We're only going to be going in through the front loop. And you will see why a little bit later in the tutorial. But from here, we're going to insert our yarn, pull through, and then we're going to chain up 3. This counts as a double crochet and also secures in our work. And from here, we're going to put 1 double crochet into every front loop that we have until we get to this V portion. So we went ahead and put all of our double crochet into one side of our V, and now we're going to be connecting it to the other side of our V so that our V can come to a really nice point like that. And then all we're going to do, we're going to skip this middle loop that has our increase of 5 in it, so we're not going to be counting this guy. So we're going to count up the next 2 loops. We're going to count 1, 2, insert your hook into that front loop just like how we did here, into this front loop with a slip stitch. And then now it's all connected. Now we can start working on the band. So into the next 2 front loops that we have, we're going to be doing 2 slip stitches in order to work our way up to the next row, flip our work, and then going into these double crochets that we have, we're going to be going into the back loops. So if we're going into the base, we're going to call this portion the base. If we're going into the base, then we're going to go into the front loops. If we're going into the double crochets, we're going into the back loops. And really quickly, how we do that, we're going to prepare for a double crochet, and we're going to go into this loop that's furthest away from us with a double crochet. And then we're going to put 1 double crochet into every back loop that we have. Once we reach the end, we're going to chain up 3, work our way back, making sure that we're working into the back loops, and then we're going to connect it into the base the same way that we did here. So we're going to count up 2 loops, slip stitch into that second, and then slip stitch up the next 2 loops after that in order to work our way up to the next row, and then do back loop double crochets. And then we're going to keep doing this until we get to the other side, which is right here, and this is the other side where we have our other increase of 5. And I'll meet you back once we have that so that we can connect it all together. So this is what it looks like once we have one side of our band nearly finished. Now we just need to connect it to the other side of the base so that it comes up to a V just like how we did on this side. And all we're going to do is we're going to fold the base over on top of what we're working with. And how we're going to connect it is just connect it by a single crochet, but we're going to go into the outside loops only so that once we flip it around, this is going to be the front, we get a nice ridging effect to follow along with this ridging effect that we have right here. So into the first loop, the outside loops are going to be a little bit different than just going in through the front loops or the back loops. It's actually going to be the 2 loops that we have on the outside. So into this first loop, we're first going to go into this outside loop, so the front loop on this end, and then looking into the base, we're going to go into the back loop into the base. So not in through both of these guys, we're going to be going in through the outside loop over here. And then we're going to single crochet it closed. So this is what we have once we have connected our base. This is that little ridging effect that I told you guys that we would get. And this is what the inside looks like. This is our inside seam, and we're actually going to be doing the same thing that we did here, but going in the opposite direction. But we're going to start from the back. We're not going to go from on top right here. So we're just going to flip this inside out. And then, as you guys can see, we have all these back loops that we so kindly left for ourselves. So all we're going to do is count out, see how many loops we have right here. So however many double crochet we have here, we're going to count the same amount of loops that we have here, and then we're going to insert our hook. So we went ahead and inserted our hook into that loop that we counted out, and what we're going to do is attach our yarn, chain up 3. This counts as a double crochet and it secures everything in, and then we're going to double crochet once into every loop until we get to this middle point, and then we're going to slip stitch it into the side, and then we're going to keep doing that until we get to the end of this band, and then we're going to be working into the front loops in the base, but I'll show you guys how to do that one more time once we get there. So this is what we'll have when we have gone in through that seam that we made in the back, and now we're going to go into the base, and all we're going to do, we want it to match what we did in the front. So in the front we went into the front loops. So when we do this, we're actually going to just hop over from where we currently are in this section, and we're going to go into the base, and we're just going to go into these front loops right here. We're going to skip 1, go into the second front loop, and then we're going to slip stitch into the front loops up the next 2 loops, and then do our back loop double crochets, And then same deal as this part, go ahead and just work all the way around, and then I'll show you guys how to connect it on this side. So this is what we have when we're nearly done with our second band. As you guys can see, we haven't quite made it over to the middle of the V yet. I'm just going to show you guys how to do this part, but it's pretty much the same thing as we did everything else. So we're going to take a look at where we did the front loops, and we're going to flip it around. As you guys can see, we have these back loops that we can very nicely work into. So we're just going to continue doing our work, but into those back loops. So we're going to slip stitch up the next 2 loops, flip our work, and then continue doing our back loop double crochet until we get to this middle point, and then I'll show you how to connect it. So we've done our back loop double crochet all the way until we got to this middle point, and now we're just going to connect it the same way that we did the other side. And we're just going to be counting out how many loops we have here versus how many loops we have here. And then we're going to insert our hook into that loop, chain up 1 to secure, and then we're just going to be going into these back loops that we have. And we don't need to be going into the outside loops like how we did for the other side, because this is on the inside. So go ahead and just insert your hook into this back loop, and then insert your hook into the second loop that we have for the double crochet piece or the band, and then single crochet. And then we're going to do this all the way down, and then we're going to chain up 1 and cut. So this is what we have once we have connected everything, and I have obviously went ahead and put in the top border as well. But I'm just going to show you guys how to do that because we are incorporating elastic into it. And I've already connected my elastic into this one side. I'm just going to show you guys how to connect it into the other. But as for measuring the elastic, same rule applies as doing the bottom elastic. Just make sure that it is secure and tight enough to where you can take it on and off comfortably. So once we're here, we're going to want to connect it into right where these double crochets meet the base, and we're actually going to go into the base so that we have a little bit more of a sturdy foundation to go into. So we're just going to insert our hook into any one of the loops that's actually right next to where these double crochets start. It doesn't matter where, just as long as it's close enough to it. And then we're going to take our yarn, we're going to pull that through, and then we are going to give this a solid tie. And then when you have that, you're going to do the same thing, connect it to the other side, which I already have. So I'm just going to show you guys how to do this top row. So just in order to start it off, we're going to insert our hook in through the same loop that we put the elastic in, so basically into the base. And we're only doing that so that we don't have color jumps, because since we're doing 2 different colors, it'll blend into the base nicely instead of it having an abrupt cut between the blue and the white that we're using. So we're just going to pull this through. As you can see, we're in the base. We're going to chain up 1, and then now we're going to start working into the band, which is all of these side double crochets. So we're just going to insert our hook in through this, and while incorporating our elastic just like how we were earlier. Just got to keep the elastic close to where we're working. And then into each of these side double crochets, we're going to be putting 2 single crochets. And then when we make it all the way down, we're going to slip stitch into that loop that we went into with the elastic into that base, and then we're going to cut and tie. And then you guys can go ahead and do it on the other side. So we're all finished with doing the border and this entire band portion, and now we're going to start working on the body. And as you guys can see, I already have this part done. This part is going to wrap around your body, and this hole that you see right here is going to be where your arm comes out. So at this point, you're going to want to try this on and then put in some stitch markers right where your underarm is, in the front and in the back. That's what I have right here. And then before you take it off, you're also going to want to measure how long you would need that chain to be from one stitch marker to the next. I already did mine. This is going to be different for everyone, but mine is about 5.5 inches from one to the next. So I'm just going to insert my hook in through one of the stitch markers, and I'm going to make a chain that is that length that I need, which is 5.5, and then I'm going to slip stitch it into this next stitch marker that I have right here. When you have your chain, you're going to insert your hook into that same loop that our stitch marker is in. We're going to yarn over, pull through everything, chain up 1, and cut. Once we've cut that chain, we're actually going to figure out where the middle is, and that's where these stitch markers come in. I figured out where the middle was, and then from that middle loop, I counted out 2 in one direction and then put in our stitch marker and then went back to that middle loop and counted another 2 and put in the other stitch marker. So in total, from one stitch marker to the next, we should have 5 loops. And then from here, now we're going to try to start evening things out just like how I did on this side. So we're going to take a look at this peak where we did our increase of 5, and then we're going to count down from this middle loop that we have. We're going to count down 5 loops. We're going to insert our hook into that 5th loop, and then this next part is going to be different for everyone. There's not going to be a number count for you guys, but basically you're going to want to try to even this out as much as possible. So as you can see over here, we went from single crochet to half double to double, and we're not going to get any bigger than double crochets because we don't want to get into the treble and quad crochet territory, because then those are a lot bigger, and so those will leave bigger gaps. So all we're going to do is we're going to start off with single crochets, and then wherever you feel like you should start making your stitches bigger to start off doing half double crochets, go ahead and do that. And then same thing for double crochets, and then we're going to be working into the chain, and then you're going to stop your half double crochet 1 loop right before you get to your first stitch marker, and then we're going to do our side detail, but I'll show you guys how to do that once when we get there. So we've done our row of single crochet to half double to double, and we've made it over to our first stitch marker. We can go ahead and take that out now, and all we're going to do is chain 1, prepare for a double crochet, and then we're going to count out 3 loops. So here's 1, 2, 3. We're going to go into that 3rd loop with a shell, and our shell is just going to be 3 double crochet into that same loop, chain 3, and then 3 double crochet into that same loop. And then once we have that, we're going to chain 1. We're going to go into the loop that's after this stitch marker that we have, or the 3rd from where we're currently at. So we're going to count out 1, 2, 3, insert our hook into that loop with a double crochet, and then from here we're going to do the same pattern that we did on this side, just going down the opposite way. So we're going to go down from double crochet to half double to single, and we're going to keep doing that all the way down, but don't go past that 5th loop that we have down here, just like how we started on the other side. So we've just done our double to half double to single crochet all the way down, leaving the last 5 loops, and we're going to do a couple more rows of this just to make sure that it comes out to be as even as possible as this peak. So all we're going to do is slip stitch into the next 2 loops. We're going to flip our work and then do the exact same thing that we did here, but do it as many times as you need until it becomes even. I'm actually going to do it 3 times, as you guys can see here. So all we're going to do is do single crochet to half double to double. Once we get to this last double crochet, we're going to chain 1, put our shell in this shell gap, chain 1, and then continue doing this pattern all the way down. And then I'll meet you back once we have all of this done. So we just finished up doing both of our evening out sides, and I had 3 rows of each, like I said. And now we're just going to start working on the body portion, and the body portion is going to be fairly easy because it's just double crochets while maintaining these shells on the side, and I will show you guys how to get that started. So we're going to grab our yarn, make a slip knot, and I like to insert the seam anywhere near this side detail so that it can look like it's a part of the side detail, but I don't like to put it right next to it. I'm maybe going to go in 1, 2, 3, 4 loops in. And then all we're going to do is put 1 double crochet into every loop that we have, going all the way around until we get maybe about mid chest, because we're going to start expanding these shells. But we're going to keep doing double crochets for the first row until we get to this middle point. And I'm just going to show you guys a really quick trick on how to do this middle point without getting those gaps in between. So I'll meet you back when we get right there. So we're working on our first row of just regular double crochet, and we've made it all the way over to our middle point where we have our peak. And all we're going to do is we're going to do a decrease into this evening outside, the middle peak, and then this evening outside. And we're only doing it that way because if we just put 1 double crochet in each loop that we have, then we'll end up having a pretty decent sized gap, and I don't like those. So what we're going to do is prepare for a double crochet, insert our hook into this evening outside, yarn over, pull through, 1 in through this middle point that we have, yarn over, pull through, and then 1 through the other evening outside over here, yarn over, pull through. We're going to yarn over, pull through 4, yarn over, pull through 2, and that is just a decrease, but not because we needed the decrease there, just because we didn't want those gaps. But from here we're going to do double crochet and do another decrease once when you get to this point as well, and then keep going back and forth like this until you get to mid chest, and then I'll show you guys how to expand our shell details. So I'm still working on my first row, haven't quite made it all the way around yet, but I just wanted to say that if some of you do need to do an increase for your bust, I would suggest, y'all don't have to listen to me, but I would suggest doing an increase somewhere near our side shell detail. So I'd insert it into the loop that's right next to our shells. And an increase is just 2 double crochet into the same loop, just like that. And as you guys can see, there's 2 double crochet into this last loop right before we get to our shell detail. And this is only if you guys need to do this. If you don't, then go ahead and just go straight down with your double crochet rows, which is what I will be doing. But I will meet you back, like I said, once when we get about mid bust. So once we have a bit of our top done, we're actually going to start expanding our shell details. So from here, we're just going to do a row of double crochet going towards our shells, but we're going to be stopping 2 loops right before we get to the shell. So we've double crocheted until we have just 2 loops left right before our shell, and all we're going to do is expand this. So we're going to be chaining 2, and we're going to be doing a shell and a half into this shell. So we're going to prepare for a double crochet, and we're going to put 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet, all into that same gap. And then that's how we're going to start doing our expansions. Once we have that, we're going to chain 2, prepare for a double crochet. We're going to be skipping these next 2 loops, going into the third with a double crochet. And then we're going to double crochet all the way around. Once we get to the shell design on the other side, we're going to do another shell and a half into there, and then connect with a slip stitch once we make it all the way around. And then from there, we're going to chain up 3, work our way back. And then once when we get to this shell and a half, we're going to be putting 2 shells into each of these gaps, but I'll show you how to do that once when we get there. So we're about to start up the next row so that we can just do our shells within this shell and a half. And as you guys can see, I actually ended right at this double crochet, but we do need to start 2 double crochet loops in. So if yours ends like mine, not everyone's will. We're just going to slip stitch into the next 2 loops so that we can start in the right spot. And then once when we're here, we're going to chain up 3. This counts as our double crochet. We're also going to do another chain 2 on top of that. And that's going to be the chain 2 that reaches over to our shell. So we're going to flip our work, and we're just going to do a shell into this gap and then 1 shell into this gap. So here's our first shell. In order to make our way over to the next gap, we're going to chain 2. Then put another shell in here. And then this is going to be the pattern for the rest of the top until we get to the bottom border. We're just going to keep expanding this until we have the length of the top that we need. And just as a reminder, if you guys are on this very last double crochet just like how I am, all you're going to do is slip stitch into the next 2 loops so that you can work your way up so that we can have this little 2 loop gap in between. So let's just show you guys one more time. We're going to insert our hook into the next loop after that with 2 slip stitches, and then we're going to chain up 3. This counts as a double crochet. Chain up another 2 because that works our way over to our shells. And our next shell is actually going to be the shell and a half. So the same deal that we did right here. So this is going to be 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet, all into this first gap, chain 2, and then the same shell and a half into this one. And then we're going to double crochet all the way around and then do the same thing once when we get over to this other side. And then we're going to be alternating between shell and a half and just shells. And we're going to keep doing that until we get the length that we need. So this is what we have, and the next row that we're going to do, we're just going to try to even out all of these side shells that we had before we start working on the bottom band. So what we're going to do is chain up 3. And we're going to double crochet until we get to the last loop. But once we get here, we're going to chain 2. We're going to single crochet into this first shell. And then once we get here, we're going to chain out 5. And then we're going to single crochet into this next shell. And we're going to keep doing that until we get to the last shell. And then once when you get to this last one, you're going to just chain 2. prepare for a double crochet, and then you're going to double crochet into this first double crochet loop that we have, and then we're going to double crochet all the way around. And then once we get to this other side, we're going to do the same thing of chaining 5 and single crocheting into each shell gap. And then I'm going to be switching out my colors, so I'm going to cut and tie and then grab my next color after that. So once we did our double crochets and then we chained all of these guys together, now we're going to start working on the bottom band, and I'm actually switching out my colors like I said. So I'm going to insert my hook in through any one of these loops, it doesn't matter where, and I'm going to insert my next color on top, and then we're actually going to be introducing our elastic as well. So go ahead and give your elastic a nice cut and then tie it together. So we're going to pull our yarn through, and then we're going to insert our hook into the next loop. And then before we finish off our single crochet, we're just going to place our elastic on top. And then we're just going to single crochet, making sure that our elastic is through and it is nice and secure now. And then from here, go ahead and put 1 single crochet into every loop, making sure that our elastic is intertwined. So we just got done inserting our bottom elastic, and I'm actually going to be doing 1 more row of single crochet around in my secondary color, but this is just for style. If you guys are doing it all one color, or if you guys don't care to have a stripe in the middle, go ahead and just do a row of double crochet right after this. But I'll meet you back when I have my single crochet row and my double crochet row done. So we just got done doing our row of double crochet, and remember I did do a row of single crochet in between, but that is optional. But the row of double crochet is necessary, and now we're going to work on the bottom border. So we're just going to be working on front post and back post double crochets. So how that works, we're going to chain up 3, we're going to prepare for a double crochet, and we're first going to do a front post double crochet. So we're going to insert our hook into this next double crochet that we have next to the loop that we're currently in, and we're going to go behind this double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet like normal, and then that gives us a ridge. And we're going to do a back post double crochet now. So we're going to prepare for another double crochet. We're going to go behind our work, insert our hook into the next gap that we have, and go over this double crochet. This is what it should look like from the front and on top. And then we're going to double crochet just like normal. And then we're going to keep doing these front and back post double crochets all the way until we get to the end. When we get to the end, we are going to connect with a slip stitch, and then we're going to do 1 more row of front and back post double crochets, but I'll show you guys how to do that when we get there. So we have our first row of front and back post double crochet done, and we just have 1 more row to do, and then we are almost done. So it's going to be the same thing that we did. I just wanted to show you guys how to do it one more time, since we're working into an already existing row of front and back post double crochets. So we're going to chain up 3, this counts as a double crochet, we're going to prepare for a double crochet, and then whatever kind of post double crochet we did in the previous row, we're just going to continue it in this 3rd row. So as you can see, this is a front post double crochet, so we're just going to continue doing a front post double crochet just like that, and the next one is a back. We're going to continue that with a back, and then we're going to do 1 more row of just these front and back post double crochets. Once we get to the end, we are going to connect with a slip stitch, and then we just have 1 more row of single crochet to do with elastic. So this is what we have once we have our row of front and back post double crochets done. We actually have 3 rows of it, and now we have to do our last bit of elastic. So all we're going to do is insert our hook into any one of these loops. It doesn't matter which one, because it's all going to come around anyways. We're going to grab our elastic color, and we're just going to pull through. We're going to place our elastic on top of our hook and pull through, and we're just going to be doing a row of single crochet that goes around this entire bottom, and then we're going to cut and tie, and then we just have some straps to do, and then we'll be all done. So this is what we should have once we are done doing the bottom elastic. And then the last thing that we have to do is do this top strap, and I already went ahead and did mine, but you're going to want to try this on right now and then see where you want the straps to fall on you. I already have mine marked off, and then also measure from 1 stitch marker to the next, go up and over your shoulder, and then take that measurement, and you're just going to make your chain that length. And just for an example, mine is 12 inches, and it's going to be a regular chain. So we're just going to insert our hook Into this corner, make a chain that is whatever length you need, and then we're going to attach it to the side with a slip stitch. And then once we have these straps in, the last thing that we have to do is weave in our ends. So we just got done weaving in all of our ends, and this is our finished top. I have no idea why, but I'm getting a mixture of Sailor Moon and Yoga Babe vibes from this top, and I am not mad at it. This top was made to match a previous video on the channel, the bell bottoms, but you can obviously wear this with any outfit. But whether if you make just this or you make the whole outfit, please tag TCDDIY on Instagram because I definitely want to see your creations. But if you like this piece or any other piece on the channel, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It's right beneath the video. It lets YouTube and I know you're enjoying the videos, plus it goes a long way to helping the channel grow and gain some traction. But if you don't like it, go ahead and give this a thumbs down, but make sure you leave a comment letting me know why you didn't like it. Or if you have any questions, you want to leave a request, or if you just want to say what's up, go ahead and leave a comment down there too. I usually reply pretty quick. If you love it, do me a ginormous favor and hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, that is also right beneath the video. It'll let you know when there's a new video uploaded to the channel, get you a bit more priority for requests, and it goes a really long way to helping the channel grow so we can keep making all these great videos for you guys. If you're already subscribed, huge thanks to you guys, but please, please, please hit that notification bell to know when there's a new video uploaded for you right away. And also don't forget to share with your crafty friends. Every bit helps. Links to the yarn and the hooks will be in the description, and if you guys buy something using those links, that also goes towards helping out the channel. But Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest links are down there as well, and thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see y'all in the next one.